Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Joe here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 346 of the current situation, and it's an important day for Spanish democracy, the 23rd of February, as the country commemorates the 40th anniversary of the failed coup attempt in 1981. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and today, the 23rd of February, an important day here in Spain. It's the day that the tanks rolled out into the streets back in 1981 in a failed coup attempt, and various members of the Civil Guard took over Spain's Congress at gunpoint on this day. As we can see here, at 23rd of February from 40 years ago, the failure of the coup contributed to the final democratic consolidation here in Spain. On the 23rd of February 1981, the young Spanish democracy experienced its most difficult test. Nostalgic soldiers of the old regime staged an attempt coup that could have ended in a bloodbath or a new dictatorship. The final result was the definitive consolidation of the democratic system, although at a cost of a delay in the process of a decentralization of the state. The attempted coup was not an entirely unexpected event, given the widespread unrest in sectors of the army due to the political change undertaken after Franco's death. So the 23rd of February 1981 was the start of the definitive consolidation of Spain's democratic process. I imagine it was a fairly scary time for people that lived through that period here in Spain. I've spoken to people that remember that day back in 1981, and they told me just how scared they were at the possibility of Spain going back to a dictatorship. But luckily democracy prevailed, and here we are today. As we know, in recent times there has been a bit of a debate going on about just how democratic Spain is, and today politicians and the king are going to take advantage of the 23rd of February to defend full Spanish democracy. The royal house and the government want to underline the validity of democratic values, while the shadow of Juan Carlos I will hover over Congress. Now, one of the uglier sides of democracy here in Spain has been taking place in recent times via riots and looting in various cities around the country. People supposedly questioning democracy here in Spain, especially when it comes to free speech, decided that it would be a good idea to go out into the streets and destroy public property, and apparently the bill for the riots and the damage in Barcelona exceeds 1.76 million euros. Barcelona is the Spanish city with the most serious and prolonged riots after the imprisonment of rapper Pablo Hasél last Tuesday, and the bill after 6 nights of protests from Tuesday to Sunday exceeds 1.76 million euros between property damage, both public and private. And on the topic of the riots, government coalition group Podemos has finally decided to come out and condemn the violence and attributes the controversy to a false debate so as not to go to the bottom of the problem. The parliamentary spokesman for the United We Can or Podemos party, Pablo Echenique, has condemned the violence 6 days after the riots began in Barcelona and other Spanish cities due to the arrest and imprisonment of rapper Pablo Hasél, which have so far resulted in more than 100 detainees and numerous injured people. And Mr. Echenique has blamed the controversy for the tweet he published on social networks to a false debate, so as not to go to the bottom of the real problem, which is freedom of expression. So Mr. Echenique and Podemos finally condemning the violence 6 days after the first riots occurred, and also adding more fuel to the fire by saying that the real problem here is freedom of expression in Spain. Now, I'm not sure if you are familiar with Mr. Echenique, but he has Donald Trump-like skills when it comes to stirring up problems on Twitter. Now, we'll move on to the health crisis here in Spain, and in particular Spain's vaccination plan. As we can see here from this headline, Spain is among world leaders in administering second COVID-19 dose, but its strategy is under debate. Only 5 countries have vaccinated a high percentage of the population with the 2 shots, but a growing amount of data suggests that it is better to immunize more people with 1 jab as soon as possible. Spain is one of the countries that has administered the highest percentage of the population with the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. 2.4% of the population have received the 2 jabs, meaning that they have the full protection offered by the vaccine. According to figures from our World in Data, which is run by Oxford University in the United Kingdom, Spain is only behind Israel, which is the clear world leader, with nearly a third of the population fully vaccinated. The United States 4.83%, Denmark 2.99%, Romania 2.74%, and Serbia 2.76%. But while this is good news, it means that the vaccines are being administered at a good speed as they are delivered, there is another side to the coin. Studies indicate that just 1 dose of the vaccine can provide a high level of protection from COVID-19. This means that every second dose administered could be seen as a jab that didn't go toward protecting another person. So 1 dose of the COVID vaccine or 2, that is the debate, and has Spain erred in its vaccination strategy? Let us know what you think in the section below. Now we'll have a look at the health data here in Spain. Starting with the vaccination plan, we can see that 2.53% of the population have been completely vaccinated, or in other words, just under 2 million people, and 4% of the population have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The countrywide health situation now, we can see that the risk level is still extreme. The total amount of cases, the accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days now down to 252. There have been 814 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days. There are currently 15,208 people hospitalised around the country with COVID, and there are 3,533 people in ICUs, which is just over 33% of all ICUs in the country. The Madrid community now, currently Spain's main hotspot. The accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days sitting at 383. Hospital pressure, and we can see that there are 3,226 people hospitalised in the Madrid community with COVID, and there are 645 people in ICUs, which is just under 47% of all ICUs in the Madrid community. Now, there's a lot of talk about COVID passports back in the news again today, especially coming from New Zealand. As we can see here, Air New Zealand will trial a vaccine passport system on flights to Australia. Air New Zealand will ask its passengers to use a digital health pass on flights to Australia as a trial run for a future digital vaccine passport that travellers will use to confirm that they have been immunised against COVID-19, offering a possible glimpse into international travel in the post-pandemic world. And here in Spain, the news is that the country will incorporate vaccination passports into safe travel corridors. The tourism minister explained that the Spanish government is working on the vaccination certificate or passport with the EU and the OECD, and is leading an initiative to adopt common protocols and generate the confidence that travellers need in order to once more make safe trips. She added that as we move forward, information will be given as to how the certificate will be applied. It is, she stressed, the priority. Mobility has to be recovered, but with security. Therefore, the certificate or passport will be available to governments and the whole of the tourism sector in order to guarantee the restart of safe travel. So there we go. According to the tourism minister, mobility has to be recovered, but with security, and a vaccination passport to travel to Spain only a question of time. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Doug. Hi, what is happening with the immigrants that have landed on the Canaries? Are there areas that tourists should avoid? Yeah, hi Doug, thanks for the comment. Not really sure what the situation is in the Canary Islands regarding the immigrant crisis that they have had in recent months. As far as I know, it's the cities of Tenerife and Gran Canaria that have been most affected by this crisis. I've seen in recent times that there are quite a few people trying to get to mainland Spain, as I think that this is the main objective of a lot of immigrants. A lot of people don't want to stay in the Canary Islands. Their objective is to get to mainland Spain or other countries in Europe, and they do whatever they can to try to make this happen. I was speaking the other day with somebody in Tenerife who recently went to the tourist area in the south of the island, and he told me that it is very, very quiet. So I don't think there's a lot of problems in those particular areas with immigrants. But I know that there are a few people watching these videos that are in the Canary Islands, so please let us know what the situation is there regarding Doug's query. One here from Eft Woa, a graduate in political science and a master's degree in cooperation. WTF is that? He could have trained as a plumber and made a fortune. Yeah, thanks for the comment. Obviously referring to an article we saw the other day in an interview with one of these protesters in Valencia, and he was complaining that he has a university degree in political science and a master's in cooperation, and he can't get a job in his particular field and has to work as a rider in one of these food delivery companies. And that does seem to be a fairly big problem here in Spain. A lot of people go to university, they get degrees, they get master's degrees, or they do extra courses, and they can't get a job according to their studies, and that leads to their frustration. But this has been a problem here in Spain for a long time. I remember when I first came to the country 20 years ago, I would meet a lot of people in a similar situation, went to university but couldn't get a job in their field. And you're right, he could have trained as a plumber, but a lot of people don't like to get their hands dirty. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the tradespeople in this country come from foreign countries. One here from Leeds United. John, can the Spanish authorities use the army to administer the vaccine like we have done in the UK? Yeah, John, thanks for the comment. As far as I know, there is no talk about the Spanish army being used to administer vaccines. I think there was some talk about maybe getting doctors and nurses from the army to do it, but I haven't heard too much more about that. And there was some talk also about the army being used from a logistics point of view, helping to distribute the vaccine around the country. We saw yesterday that the Madrid community is planning to bring nurses out of retirement in order to administer the vaccine. And I also read back in January that the country was looking for 15,000 nurses in order to get the jab. But no talk about the army, and I don't know why that is, but I'm sure people will be able to tell me in the comment section. One here from Kylie D. Hi Stuart, curious as to why you too refer to Vox as a far-right party. Which of their policies do you consider to be far-right? Do you call Unidas Podemos far extreme left? Yeah, Kylie, thanks for the comment. Vox is commonly called a far-right party here in Spain, not only by me, but by a lot of people as well, because they sit on the far-right side of politics in this country. As we can see in this figure done by the London School of Economics comparing Vox's ideology with other Spanish parties, we can see that Vox clearly is on the far right of politics, as I said, here in Spain. Further to the right than the PP, further to the right than the Citizens Party, and then of course on the left we have the PSOE Party, the Socialist Party, and then on the far left we have the Podemos Party. If we have a look at another figure comparing Vox's populism to other Spanish parties, we can see that both Podemos and Vox are extreme when it comes to populism, and the other main political parties here in Spain less so. And if we have a look at some of the other policies that Vox proposes, apart from their stance on Catalonia and the unification of Spain, we can see that they want to intensify diplomatic efforts to return Gibraltar to Spain. They want to repeal the law that bans Franco-era symbols and envisages compensation to dictatorship victims. They want to ban medical procedures such as gender change and abortion under the public health system. They want to repeal the law on gender violence. They want to pass a law to protect bullfighting. They want to deport illegal immigrants and illegal immigrants who commit a crime, and they want to shut fundamentalist mosques. So looking at some of those policies, I'll let you guys decide where Vox sits on the political spectrum here in Spain. And finally, one here from Tomatrix, always informative. Stu, Spain seems pretty crazy right now. In Ireland, things are improving slightly, but it's like a never-ending yo-yo of improvement. Lockdown relief, worsening, harsher lockdown, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, Tomatrix, thanks for the comment. And you're right, Spain does seem a little bit crazy right now, especially with all of the riots that have been going on over the last 6 days or so. And over the last few years, we've seen various events like this take place, unfortunately. And when it comes to the COVID situation, that's what it is. It's like a yo-yo, as you say. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. We get confined, case numbers go down. We open, case numbers go up, and we get confined again. That's what it's been like for the last year. And as we saw the other day, some people here in Spain are already predicting a fourth wave of the coronavirus, but let's hope that doesn't turn out to be the case. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. See you in the next one. Hasta luego.